All right, we're in Shoftim or Judges, chapter 5. Last week we read about Deborah, the prophetess. Um, read about Barak, the general, Sisera, his enemy. We read about Yael and how she put Sisera to death because Barak lacked the courage to go into battle and ask the woman to go in. Picking up where we left off in verse 1 of chapter 5, it says, "And on that day, Deborah and Barak, the son of Abinoam, sang this song. When leaders in Israel dedicate themselves and the people volunteer, you should all bless Yehovah." When the leaders in Israel dedicate themselves and the people volunteer, you should all bless Yehovah. You know what's wrong in the world today? Let's start right here. Let's start with the people of Israel. Benai Yaakov. Is that in general we lack leaders who dedicate themselves. Now, if you read the JPS version, the translation, it's got a little different way of wording it. And although, having looked over it last night, this morning, in Hebrew, I'm trying to piece it together, I really believe this is what I'm reading from is the more literal translation. I can see where the JPS translators got what they were saying because they reference it as when they set themselves apart and don't cut their hair, talking about the Nazarite vow. Okay? Now, I think they're probably trying to tie that to both Samson, who we know was a judge who never cut his hair, he lived in the Nazarite vow his entire life. And also Yeshua, who we know that after a certain point in his ministry, he did not cut his hair. He put himself under the Nazarite vow. It's actually why scholars believe that's why he did not partake of the cup of wine at last Pesach. So I can see what they're trying to tie them in. Whether it's that particular vow or not, I think the JPS translators are onto something when they're pointing that it needs to be a vow of that degree, a dedication of that degree, that they will not turn away from, we will not turn away as leaders from the truth of His Word. Okay? Because it's so easy to fall into the idea that the world has the answers when we see the world gaining wealth and we see the world gaining status and we see the world getting all of these things that our flesh wants. It's easy to fall into the notion that that's the way they do it is the way we should do it. But if we're dedicated, if our leaders are dedicated, and our people volunteer to go after the leaders and follow in the same type of sort of dedication, then we should all be a blessing to Yehovah. Hear, kings, listen, princes, I will sing to Yehovah. I will sing praise to Yehovah, the Elohim of Israel. Yehovah, when you went out from Seir, when you marched out from the field of Edom, the earth quaked and the sky shook. Yes, the clouds poured down torrents. The mountains melted at the presence of Yehovah at Sinai before Yehovah, the Elohim of Israel. You catch that? When you went out to war, it doesn't say when we went out to war, it says when you, Elohim, went out to war. Remember in the earlier teaching, from Bashir, we're talking about, Yaakov said, if Yehovah will, if he will go before me, protect me, provide for me, if he will do these things that he promised to Abraham, if he will give me that blessing, he will be my Elohim. This is generations later. These are his descendants, and they're singing this song, saying, when you went out to war, great Elohim, even the earth quaked, even the mountains melted. Nothing stood in your way. We could not have done this on our own. In the days of Shamgar, the son of Anak, in the days of Yael, the main roads were deserted. Travelers walked the byways. Why? Because they were afraid, because the armies were coming through. It wasn't safe to be there. The rulers ceased in Yisrael. They ceased until you arose, Deborah, arose a mother in Yisrael. I want you to think about something there. He says the rulers ceased. They're talking about the judges. They're talking about the Shoftim, who in an earlier chapter we read were raised up as saviors for the people. So they ceased. And then Deborah came along. And she was like a mother to Israel. Earlier I was talking about the importance of being obedient, honoring the patriarch and the matriarch, and the model there for honoring Elohim. These people honored Deborah because they saw the blessings of Yehovah upon her. They chose new Elohim when war was at the gates. Was there a shield or spear to be seen among Israel's 40,000 men? I want you to think about this. It says there's 40,000 men in Israel. Men, meaning they're between the ages of 20 and 60 when you're talking about war. Because until you're 20, you can't be called up for war. You can go volunteer. We have examples of that, like David. Okay? But you can't be called up for war. You can be counted as a man who's a fighting man from ages 20 to 60. That's what the Torah says. He says, was there a shield or spear to be seen among Israel's 40,000 men? And the answer is obviously no. It's obviously a rhetorical statement. They were in captivity. They probably weren't allowed to have swords and shields and spears. It says, my heart goes out to Israel's leaders and to those among the people who volunteer. All of you bless Yehovah. You who ride white donkeys, sitting on soft saddle blankets. And you walking on the road, talk about it. Louder than the sound of archers at the watering holes will they sound as they retell the righteous acts of Yehovah, the righteous acts of his rulers in Yisrael. He says this should be shouted, he's saying, to the highest mountaintops. That's what he's getting at. You should stand on the rooftop and talk about the glorious things that Yehovah has done so loudly that your neighbors hear it. It should be declared. It wasn't me. But he says, now that this has happened, do that. Do that great thing. Talk about the greater things that he's done. Then Yehovah's people marched down to the gates. Awake, awake, Deborah. Awake, awake, break into song. Arise, Barak. Lead away your captives, son of Avinadab. Then a remnant of the nobles marched down. You catch that? A remnant. When we're just talking in the earlier teaching, when something happens to our people, when it seems horrible, when we come out the other end of it, whether it's a captivity, whether it's a Holocaust, whatever it is, when something terrible in our eyes happens to our people, what happens on the other end is that we have a remnant that is more tzaddik, more righteous, more holy more sanctified and set apart than the people ever were before we went through that trial. It says, then a remnant of the nobles marched down. The people of Yehovah marched down to me like warriors. He was calling them out of this placating, soft, I will go so far as to say, effeminate mindset that they had fallen into in captivity. The 40,000 men didn't own a spear between them. He was calling them out. And you know what? They came out like warriors. They came out of the trial like warriors. The men were no longer acting like women and children. They were acting like men. And that was the result. And now Elohim could use them. From Ephraim came those rooted in Amalek. Behind you, Benjamin is with your peoples. From Machir, the commanders marched down, and from Zebulun, those holding the musterer's staff. The princes of Yishakar were with Devorah Yishakar, along with Barak. Into the valley they rushed forth behind him. Okay, so we know who was with him, we know who was with Devorah, but we knew that in the previous chapter. Now, I want you to pay attention to this. Among the divisions of Reuben, they made great resolutions in their hearts. But why did you stay at the pens for the sheep and listen to the shepherds flute playing for the flocks? Concerning the divisions of Reuben, there were great searchings of heart. Gilad lived beyond the Jordan. Dan, why does he stay by the ships? Asher, staying by the shore of the sea, remaining near its bays. The people of Zebulun risked their lives, Naphtali too, on the open heights. Let's look at the contrast here. This is poetry. There's a purpose for every word. One of my favorite English teachers of all time, probably learned, if not the most, and one of the people I learned the most about being a writer. And I carry in every book I've ever written, there's some part of her, something that she taught me. And she told me once that poetry is the most advanced form of writing, because you have to be able to say the most with the least. You have to be able to be exact and not have to repeat yourself, so that if you repeat yourself, people understand the purpose of the emphasis. Everything that we have read here is here for a reason. Not just that Zebulun risked their lives, not just that Naphtali too on the open heights. We knew that from the previous chapter, from the story of the history. We have listed here 4 other tribes. It starts off by saying, you made these decisions in your heart. You men of those tribes, you made your decisions and said that you would go with us, and you didn't go. Why did you stay by the sheep pens? And why did you stay by your ships? And why did you stay on the other side of the yard? And I'll tell you why, because they were effeminate and they were cowards. They could talk the talk, but they couldn't walk the walk. You know what else struck me as I was reading through this last night? Lisa and I were talking about this, and I was wrestling with why are the others not mentioned. And I said, well, maybe they didn't make the promises, and so they're not being talked about. But you know what I think? I think that's even more of a condemnation. The fact that they're not mentioned, and it doesn't even say they didn't bother to tell us they would come. They didn't bother to make a pact with us for mutual defense. They didn't bother to try to raise an army. It doesn't even say that. Their actions don't even warrant being mentioned as failures. And when that struck me last night as I was praying about it, I remembered the words of my mentor, Yakun Borja, retired Command Sergeant Major in the Army. by the time he was my mentor. And he said, when you're a leader, you always have to make a decision. He said, the wrong decision is better than no decision because the wrong decision might get your men hurt, and no decision will get your men killed. What we have here is a story of who went to war, who said they'd go to war, and who didn't bother to talk about it. You know, we're in a spiritual war right now. Every day of our lives, we are in spiritual warfare. We need to be sure of where we stand. Are we going to the battle that we say we're going to, or are we just talking about it, or are we so asleep at the wheel that we don't even have the conversation? Kings came. They fought. Yes, the kings of Canaan fought at Tanakh by the waters of Megiddo, but they took no spoil of silver. They fought from heaven, the stars in their courses. Yes, they fought against Sisera. The Kishon River swept them away. That ancient river, the Kishon River. Notice it doesn't just say the Kishon River once, it says it twice. That's to emphasize. If you want to know where the bodies of the dead can be found, go there. If you question if this is real, go check it out. For generations afterwards, you will see the bones of our enemies. Oh, my soul, marched on with strength. Then the horses' hooves pounded the ground, their mighty steeds galloping at full speed. Curse Meroz, said the angel of Yehovah. Curse the people living there with a bitter punishment for not coming to help Yehovah against the mighty warriors. I read that and I said, why does Yehovah need help? You know, it doesn't say that he needed help. It says they had the opportunity to do his work and they refused to do it. What y'all think about this? Every day of our lives, we're being called to that battle. Cursed be us if we have an opportunity to do this work and we don't answer. Yael will be blessed more than all women. The wife of Heber, Midiani, will be blessed more than any woman in the tent. He asked for water, and she gave him milk. She was actually a good hostess. In an elegant bowl, she brought him curds. Then she took a tent peg in her left hand and a workman's hammer in her right. With the hammer, she struck Sisera, pierced his skull. Yes, she shattered and crushed his temple. He sank down at her feet. He fell and lay there. He sank at her feet. He fell where he sank down. There he fell dead. Sisera's mother looks out the window, peering out through the lattice. She wonders, why is his chariot so long in coming? Where are his horses so slow? Are his horses so slow to return? The wisest of her ladies answers her, and she replies, or repeats it to herself, of course, they're collecting and dividing the spoil. A girl, 2 girls for every warrior, for Sisera, booty of dyed clothing. A plunder of colorfully embroidered garments, 2 embroidered scarves for every shoulder's neck. You know what that tells me? The wisest advisor doesn't know. We're constantly having people give us advice, aren't we? People say, don't be so hard on your kids, you need to be a friend to them. And then don't understand why your kids grow up and do things that are godly and righteous and make you proud, and their kids end up in a corrections facility. Didn't bother to graduate high school. Or they say, I'm going to be kind to my children. And that kindness turns into them disrespecting. Not saying we shouldn't be kind and loving to our children, but you take it to the point where they run the house. You treat them like guests instead of part of the family and a part that you're responsible for raising up. And then they run out and they do the things that break your heart and you wonder why. We hear that advice every day. And we hear it about everything. We hear people who say that you can, rob the clock at work and get away with it. Oh, everybody does it. But the Elohim of heaven tells us to have fair weights and fair balances. There's always someone trying to give you advice. Be careful who you take it from. Because your son could be dead and you'd still be waiting for him to come home. That's an analogy that you can apply to anything. May all your enemies perish like this, Yehovah. But may those who love him be like the sun going forth in its glory. There's only two sides in that statement. You can perish or shine like the sun. We as a people can perish or shine like the sun. Let us shine. Then, I love that. Because I went back and looked at the Hebrew, it's like almost like then because of this. Because it's not even because of the battle, not even because of the faithfulness of Devorah and Yael, that played into it, but because they declared to the entire community the greatness of Elohim and all that he had done. Then because of this, the land had rest for 40 years. What happens when we glorify him for the blessings that we receive? Our land has rest. As we were studying through this last night, it came to my mind. I went back and did some looking at first I thought, well, maybe Zebulun and Naphtali were tribes that didn't allow the foreigners to stay among them, but that wasn't it. We went back and researched that. It was not it. They actually both had foreigners living among them, and I thought, well, then what was the influence that led them? What caused them to be faithful and the other tribes to be either half-hearted or no heart at all? It reminded me of a study I've been doing for the benefit of Melech. But I had started the study before I even met Melech, and then I kind of put it on the side. I went back and got my notes, and I've been studying on this for some things that he's going through, some things he's wrestling with. And I looked at the laws for Bnei Noach, for the sons of Noah. When Noah came off the ark, he was given a set of commandments. There weren't the whole 613. Most scholars break them down as 7, and they're very, very simple commandments. Don't have idols. Don't curse his name or use it as a curse. Don't engage in sexual immorality. Don't eat the lifeblood. Don't steal from your neighbor. Don't commit murder, because murder is the theft of someone's life. Oh, and when you get populous enough, make sure that there's a government in place that can maintain these laws, so that even the nations that are not of Abraham, because this goes back before him, that they should have righteous leadership to the point that they uphold these 7 laws. Now, do all of the 7 laws get held up by every nation today? No, but that's because they're sinning. Okay? We get so hung up in what is laid on my heart, though, is we get so hung up on everybody needs to be Jewish. Okay? Would I love for the whole world to be Jewish? Yes. But that's not really what Scripture says. Scripture says that there are the goyim, they're the Gentiles, and that there are Benai Noach. There are sons and daughters of Noah who understand the seven basic laws that he gave to all of humanity. Different scholars break down the Benai Noach laws and the transition from Goyim to being Jewish in a spiritual sense in different ways. I've read Noel Ravine, some of them say, oh, there's 3 steps, some say 5 steps. Okay, I went through, I'm a little more analytical. I see 9 phases. And I've gone back and I've looked up what Scripture says about each of those phases. And I think as Messianics, especially since all of the older members here were raised not observantly Jewish, we should be very appreciative of the fact that He, by grace, gives us this process to come home to Him. Okay? And although I would love for everyone who walks in our door, everyone I meet in my life, to say, yes, I want to be Jewish and jump on board with the 613 commandments, it's not practical and it's not His plan. Because we are always supposed to be priests to the nations, and we're always supposed to hold ourselves to a higher level of righteousness. Okay? The Noachite, basically, Hebrew word for a son of Noah who is uneducated. He or she has never heard the 7 laws of Noah. Okay? Or they don't understand at all the importance of them. Benai Noach Yodah are unobservant sons of Noah. So they've been introduced to the 7 laws of Noah, but they choose not to observe them. Okay? Or people like agnostics, I think, fall into that place. Benai Noach Asiv is a pious son of Noah. Okay? And they see the beauty of the 7 laws of Noah, begun to observe them to the best of their understanding. They're still in that struggling, fledgling state. Benai Noach Shamar is an observant son of Noah, who has come into a full understanding of the 7 laws of Noah and is observing them fully. Okay? I know some people like that. I know some people that when I put these laws in front of them, they're like, yeah, that all makes sense. I do that. And I think that's when Shaul says that even the Gentile who doesn't have the law, by his nature, does the things that are in the law and becomes the law to him. I think that's what he's talking about. Gepar, an observant son of Noah, who is not only observant of the 7 laws, but has come in from the outside and chooses to reside among Israel. And I think that's the big step right there. That's where we have people coming in who are like, well, I'm not Jewish, but I'm Hebrew roots, and I want to know more about the heritage, and I want to know more about what the Torah teaches. Resides among Israel, who does not yet understand the beauty of the 613 mitzvot. We have Toshav as the alien who chooses to reside among Israel, who sees the beauty of the 613 mitzvot, but who does not attempt to keep them. Anybody like that? Torah is a beautiful thing. It's just beyond me. You ever heard that? I remember thinking that. I remember feeling that. Ger Toshav, a resident alien from among the sons of Noah who chooses to reside among Israel and who has begun to observe the 613 mitzvot. Ger, a stranger from among the sons of Noah who has not yet been physically circumcised but has chosen to join himself to Israel in all other ways. And Ezra, one who has joined himself to Israel, is physically circumcised and is thus considered to be just as though he was made before. The more I've studied on this, the more I feel like we need to see our faith journey as a journey. I was just saying the other day to a coworker who I do believe is she's born again, but she's not very deep in the Word. And I was trying to explain to her that when I left the mainline churches and I grabbed hold of Torah and I hung on to it, I began to realize that while the mainline churches make it about the destination, and they say, go down to the altar, you say the prayer, and bam, you're in. For me, being Jewish, the difference is, yes, I'm in, and now I'm on a journey, and it's a forever journey from now until I enter into eternity, and my understanding begins to become perfect. Everyone in this room is somewhere in this journey. Everyone we meet, because it includes the uneducated, the person who's never heard the truth, is somewhere on this journey. And I think that because some of us have been so hurt by the mainline churches and the lies that we were told, and the corruption that we saw, that we have come to this point where we think that unless someone is mature as us, then they're not for real. Then they're not trying. And I'm as guilty of that as anybody. I still say that a synagogue is not supposed to be a mission field. It's supposed to be an armory for his warriors. But I think we need to check ourselves a little bit and never stop being zealous for telling the truth, but maybe be less judgmental about where someone else is in their walk. And I'll be the first, Sheldon said, I am the chief among sinners when it comes to this. I will be the first to raise my hand and say, I have done this. And today I make a pledge to stop doing that and to become a better priest to the nations. And I challenge you all to do the same. Do we have a midrash? Actually, the commandment is that their males will be circumcised. So we can say a couple comes in and they want to go through the process. That's the one thing that she can't. If her husband doesn't, then that can become a sticky situation because she's supposed to follow her husband. I've heard of cases where that happened and the husband didn't get circumcised, and of course, let's be honest. Today, most male babies are circumcised anyway for health reasons, but so that isn't an issue for some people. For most people, like it is for some. But in that case, I'm not sure what I would do. I've never had a couple come to me and he wasn't circumcised, but she wanted to partake of Pesach. But the only ordinance that you're not allowed to partake of, okay, if it's not been physically circumcised, is Pesach. Okay? And in that case, if they're ger and they have a son and they circumcise him, he's automatically Israel. Okay? So that's I don't know what I would do if somebody came to me in that situation. I would have to. It might be like what we've done where we had people who are in the process have come and they're not fully crossed over in the belief yet, and we have a separate lamb that's not the pachel, and we let them eat that so that they can celebrate with us and see what it's about and not actually break the commandment. That would be that's just something I would have to cross that bridge if I need
Comes in, start the process. Up to that point, they realize they have a child, So it's still doing something on that family. Down the road, the father passes away.
Does the son become the head of the family?
Who would be able to, land?
I would say in that situation, I would say absolutely yes, because all of her males in her family then were circumcised in her household. The only, for me, the only clincher there is how you read the part about, about the circumcision. Like I said, if we've never come across that, so I've not studied on it, prayed on it, we probably should have. So that's something I'll start studying on. I think I'd have that conversation with the husband. I think every couple, every situation would be different. Anybody else?